Good afternoon, and welcome to From Where We Are, stories of news and culture through the lens of USC and Southern California. I'm Evan Rodriguez, coming to you live from Studio B in USC's Annenberg Media Center.
And I'm Aditya Tyag. It's Monday, February 12th. On today's show, Super Tuesday approaches. Will young people vote?
My initial reaction is, why is nobody giving them a reason to get excited to vote?
The Supreme Court takes on social, media, and free speech.
Social media is so pervasive that it can spread a lot of misinformation, a lot of hate.
And if you don't already know what this means, stay tuned. All that and more
From Where We Are. From logistical obstacles to disengagement, younger generations remain the least engaged voting population. How can we change that? Ari Rose Marquez has the story.
Students are grappling with an age-old condition, voter apathy. According to the Brookings Institute, Americans aged 65 and older vote more than young people at a rate of 3-1 in recent elections. USC political science professor Douglas Becker unpacks the cyclical nature of youth voter disaffection.
It's a terrible cycle. Young people don't vote anywhere near as high of a level as older people. Their issues aren't being talked about, so then they stop. They pay attention less and less and less.
So what are the issues that young people feel don't get enough attention? Junior economics student Carrie Carter shared some of the issues that are important to her.
Police brutality, environment, cost of things that attribute to cost of living.
Young people aged 18 to 24 make up around 1/10 of voters, unlike senior voters who account for more than half. Junior pharmacology student Benjamin Katz says he hasn't voted before, but that he is ready to vote in this election. Katz says he's not excited to vote, but rather better understands the implications of young people's disengagement and doesn't want to be part of the problem.
I just feel like, it's a very important election. I think a lot of changes are happening that could lead to terrible consequences. So I believe it's important to vote.
Why are young people disaffected? My initial reaction is, why is nobody giving them a reason to get excited to vote?
There are many organizations that provide information and resources to young people to get more involved in the political process. It's as simple as a Google search to find organizations like California Student Vote that streamline the process to register to vote. So get out to the polls and make sure your voice gets heard. For Annenberg Media, I'm Ari Rose Marquez.
The Supreme Court heard arguments regarding freedom of speech on social media today. Drake Lee has the story.
The U.S. Supreme Court heard arguments today regarding a First Amendment case about whether social media companies have the right to limit what users may say on their platforms. The case centers on two bills in Florida and Texas that limit the ability of companies like TikTok, YouTube, and X to curate their content. Jeff Cohen directs the USC IT Directory Law Clinic. He says the Florida and Texas laws are trying to prevent conservative voices from being censored.
These two cases are both about two state laws that are meant to regulate social media companies and that have two different levels been pretty much explicitly passed with the goal of addressing what is perceived as sort of either deplatforming or censorship of conservative voices.
Two technology trade groups that have challenged the law are NetChoice and the Computer Communications Industry Association. They say that platforms have the same First Amendment rights as conventional news outlets. However, Florida Solicitor General Henry Whittaker argues that the laws are necessary to prevent censorship.
The telephone company and the delivery service have no First Amendment right to use their services as a choke point to silence those they disfavor.
The laws could have far-reaching consequences if upheld, according to USC Reach President Dylan Hui.
And I think if we remove these moderations, like states like Florida and Texas are proposing, we're going to see content that is more controversial, that you can still see right now on these platforms, but it's not being pushed to your Explore page, not being pushed on your For You page on a higher level because it gets people riled up and not in the best ways.
USC sophomore history major Heidi Cho says that some regulation is necessary to prevent the spread of fake news.
I think so. I think it's important to at least have some guidelines because I think social media is so pervasive that it can spread a lot of misinformation, a lot of hate. So I think having some general guidelines are important.
Meanwhile, freshman Louisa Liu, who is studying comparative literature, worries that removing the ability to regulate social media platforms could lead to an increase in hate speech.
I feel like free speech is definitely valuable, but at the same time, the toxicity that forms the breeding ground for actual hate speech can become target for marginalized populations, especially when it's anonymous. Then you're basically covered and not held accountable, and that can be very problematic.
Conservative and liberal Supreme Court justices, including Chief Justice John Roberts, seemed doubtful of the state laws during the hearings and could send the case back down to the state level. A decision by the court is expected by June. For Annenberg Media, I'm Drake Lee.
The Osage took their name.
The 30th Annual Screen Actors Guild Awards honored the best achievements in entertainment for the year of 2023, and the big wins of the night felt close to home. Very close to home, actually, as the award show happened just steps away from USC's campus. Sarah Arancibia has the story.
Lights, camera, action! In the midst of Hollywood's brightest stars, this weekend, Lily Gladstone made history. She was the first Native American woman to be nominated and to win Best Lead Actress for her role in Killers of the Flower Moon.
There's murder in Osage, and the police do nothing.
Gladstone took home her award from the SAG Awards just off USC's campus at Trine Auditorium. Her victory marks the first time an Indigenous woman has won Most Outstanding Performance for a lead actress role. Gladstone was also the first Indigenous woman to win Best Actress at the Golden Globes for her performance in the film. And she's the first Indigenous Oscar nominee for Best Actress. In Martin Scorsese's film, Gladstone plays an Osage woman named Molly. The film tells the true, mostly untold story of the many Osage murders in 1920s Oklahoma. Gladstone began her SAG Award acceptance speech in the Blackfeet language. Hello, all my friends, relatives. My name is Eagle Woman. I am Blackfeet. I love you all. Gladstone was also seen sporting earrings designed by Blackfeet Cree artist Lenise Omesu. Dylan Goodwill works in Native student recruitment for USC. She expressed her joy at seeing the media represent Native people as not just a people having survived an immense trauma, but who have persevered and are still here. Goodwill commends Gladstone on her accurate portrayal of Native people and ability to embody this persevering spirit.
She's pioneering a whole new kind of area that our people haven't been in yet. And so it's really awesome to be able to see her being able to win. It's a win for all of us.
USC junior Caitlin Becenti, who's on the board of the Native American Student Assembly, echoes Goodwill's sentiments.
We're seeing res kids being represented on the screen, and that's all we've ever wanted because it really shows us that we can dream bigger and be able to make it.
Lily Gladstone ended her acceptance speech with a heartwarming call to action for us to continue creating visibility and representation for underrepresented individuals and communities.
Those of you who are not actors but have a voice, have a story that needs to be heard, keep speaking your truths and keep speaking up for each other.
For Annenberg Media, I'm Sarah Arancibia.
All around the world.
The Los Angeles Clippers had a major overhaul in terms of aesthetics this weekend. They completely changed their logo, their outfits, even their arena style. Let's just hope it doesn't alter their playing. Today, we're joined by Thomas Johnson, an avid basketball fan and the Annenberg Media sports editor, to discuss the rationale and impacts of this redesign. Thomas, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, I don't know too much about sports, but I did see on my Twitter timeline this morning that, that there was a completely different aesthetic to the Los Angeles Clipper. And first, I just want to gauge your initial reactions. What do you think of the redesign?
Well, it makes sense because they're trying to do a whole rebrand. They're competing with the Los Angeles Lakers brand in Los Angeles. They play at the same arena, and the Lakers have just been here for a lot longer. So it makes sense that they're trying to move away from that. They're moving to the Intuit Dome soon, so new jerseys comes with that. That makes a lot of sense.
And aesthetically speaking, this is a very stark contrast. Before, one could say that the Clippers and the Lakers logo, it was somewhat similar, with that similar looking font, but now it's a completely different overhaul. How do you think that affects brand appeal or recognizability amongst general audiences such as myself who don't really follow basketball that closely?
Well, it makes sense because at the heart of the name Clippers, it is the ship, the Clipper. And they have the Clipper now in the logo, and I think people just didn't recognize that, even though it's in the literal name that it's supposed to be a ship, representing. They used to play in San Diego, so the San Diego Bay Clippers. That's kind of where the name came from, and people just didn't realize that. So I think that's kind of the point of it, and I certainly think it'll help with brand recognition.
Do you feel like this new logo and this redesign is doing a good enough job at making itself more separate from what the Lakers logo is? Like I said before, the Lakers and Clippers, they had somewhat similar font styles. Do you think this rebranding will help separate the two teams?
I think it's more the fact that they're moving away from Crypto.com Arena to the Intuit Dome. I think that's going to have a much larger effect on separating the Clippers and the Lakers. But, if you change your arena, you kind of have to change everything involved with that. So it's kind of a step away, but the big leap is the move to a new dome.
Gotcha. And in terms of, you've probably been following basketball for a while now, and seeing this news hit, what was your initial reaction? What was it like when you heard about, the Clippers are doing a completely different redesign, they're moving to this completely different stadium? What was your initial thought? What were your initial thoughts?
My initial thought was, frankly, that there is no way they're going to be able to overpass the brand of the Lakers. And that's the whole point, is to try to not even overpass the Lakers, but at least have some semblance of similarity. And by similarity, I mean separation, but similarity in the brand level. And so that was my biggest reaction, is sure, it's going to help, but it's more of a drop in the water. It's not a big shift. We're not going to see a lot of Los Angeles fans become Clippers fans. maybe there'll be a bigger population of Clippers fans in Englewood, because that's where they're moving their dome to. But I don't know if this brand change really will be that big of an effect,
That's a really good point. And now that the Clippers, they are trying their best to establish themselves separately. In terms of popularity, how do you see their brand being affected? Not just in terms of general appeal, but also general popularity amongst audiences, since they're no longer competing in the crypto arena, and now that they have a completely different aesthetic.
Well, at the end of the day, you have to play well. You have to put a good product on the court to have a bigger brand. And luckily for the Clippers, they're playing great this season. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, some great players on the Clippers squad. It's honestly perfect timing for the Clippers to have something like this. They can change their brand while also putting a good product on the field. So I don't really know what the effects are going to be in a couple years, in a year, in the next couple weeks, but I think it will drive more interest into the Clippers.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And that was Thomas Johnson, the Annenberg Media sports editor. Thanks for coming on here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on ARN.
Appreciate it.
Time for today on From Where We Are. Gabby Medina, Nikki Burleson, and Amy Lopez produced today's show, and we had help from Melissa Grimaldo, Kate Stuzen, Rio, Jeanette Fu, Sarah Arancibia, Ari Rose Marquez, and Drake Lee.
Our board operator is Grayson Solomon. Our live stream manager is Sam Bittman, and Derek Renfro composed our theme music.
Catch us live on YouTube at Annenberg Radio News Monday through Thursday at 5 p.m. Subscribe to From Where We Are wherever you're listening to right now. Finally, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Annenberg Radio. I'm Evan Rodriguez.
And I'm Aditya Thiag. From all of us at Annenberg Radio, wherever you are, we hope you'll join us for From Where We Are.
So how did you feel about the SAG Awards happening literally across the street?
It was so powerful to me, especially because a couple days earlier, last Thursday, I got to see Lily Gladstone speak here at USC. And just the fact that a Native woman is winning so big in an industry that has often shunned Indigenous people, it's very empowering. And having her come to speak to USC students and then having the SAG Awards happen immediately after in close proximity to us, it was just an awesome experience.
Absolutely.